Welcome to the 3i Podcast. I'm Mike Launchman, and with me today is Dr. Timothy Rayle. Tim has spent his entire career as an educator. He is now superintendent of Clay County Schools and an adjunct professor at Indiana Wesleyan University. Tim, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you today. We're excited. I know in the intro we talked about you being at Indiana Wesleyan. Let's dig into that a little bit. How long have you been there?
2012 is when I started there, and I work with kids who want to become principals in Indiana, basically. And I say kids because back when you and I were going through, we had years of experience in the classroom, and what we're seeing now is kids who come in, they'll have a couple years in the classroom, and then they're going into administrative classes. And so, yeah, when I say kids, I get a bunch of youngsters who want to be building principals.
A long time ago, you would go on and get an admin license early in your career just to get a master's so you get that pay raise. Even if you planned on being in the classroom another 10 years, it just opened up opportunities. But now where we don't see that as like pay upgrades as much.
And that's, you hit an interesting point. I always ask the students in my class why they're taking these courses. And it used to be because I want to better the school. I want better opportunities for our kids. And when they're honest with me now, it's because of the pay grade. And they'll say, I'm working 2 or 3 jobs. And as an administrator, the opportunities there not to have to work multiple jobs, your contract increases, but they're able to make a living that they feel can support a family.
I mean, we just set the floor of teacher salaries at $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you think about that, $40,000 a year for an individual who went on and got an undergrad degree is substantially low compared to if they go into a different field.
Yeah. And that's a goal we have is to get our teachers up. I think our starting pay is around 46
In Clay?
in Clay.
Oh, great.
And so we understand that. The trade-off is that you have June and July, and that is something that, as an administrator, I haven't seen for years. The ability to have time off with my family, to be able to take trips, those sorts of things. But it's still, having that type of pay. We're stuck in the 40s. That's a tough gig for a family to try to make ends meet. And that's a good lead-in to why we do what we do.
Yeah.
In terms of kids and education, we want them to be able to sustain themselves. We want them to get out to be successful. But you tie that back into teacher salary. And I know that you had Dr. McDaniel on here as a professor, talking about education and educators. And you look at the teacher shortage, our educators are there, and our kids who are in undergrad right now that want to be teachers, they're going to come out with loans.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need to pay off. And then also you have low teacher salaries for starting. And I think that's part of why we're seeing not so many kids going into teaching, is that when you look at, can I sustain a family? Can I sustain the way I want to live? Can I afford a house? We have, and he just brought this to my mind, we have a couple teachers that actually they're single and they live together so that they can financially make ends meet.
Yeah.
So a couple of teachers have been teaching for us 15 years. And so they just went together and have housing together just so that they can make ends meet.
Yeah, well, and that's what you see a lot of teachers coming out and they're graduating college and then they're still picking up a side job.
Yep. One of my favorite stories is locally within our schools, we do a teacher program.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, they have a celebration. And they have the teacher of the year, as in these kids that are going intern of the year. And so I'm at the celebration. This is probably 6 years ago. I'm at the celebration, and young lady receives the award. I'm shaking her hand and saying, congratulations, I can't wait to hire you back as a teacher. And she said, that ain't happening. She said, I'm not going to be a teacher. I did all this work. She said, I don't enjoy it. It was fun, as in I learned a ton. And what I learned is this is not the career I want to be in. She's an HR director now.
You know what, though? She learned that before she took on a lot of student debt. So that's not a bad thing.
Yep.
That's great. part of the issue we have with the teacher shortage is we've got teachers telling kids right now, don't go into the field.
Yeah.
It's
And
not worth it.
and I don't think it's because of the act of teaching and the ability to give back. It's because of finances.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part. Now, that's not all of it.
No.
We know we have some in this society. A week doesn't go by for me as superintendent where I don't get multiple phone calls because a student has done something, and then we have discipline, we have consequences, and they don't think we should have consequences for their kid.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I'll share an extreme one. A couple weeks ago, I had a parent whose child was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
was cussing in class, and had the consequence for cussing. So the parent calls me and says, I don't think this is right. You guys as a school should not be able to have consequences for my child. My question was your child cussing? Yes. But you guys made him feel bad by bringing that forward. And so, yeah,
But it's in your handbook.
but it's in our hand.
Penalty,
Yeah, so-
and your administrator acted according to the handbook.
Yes. And I would like to say this is an outlier, but
No.
this is pretty much every day, every week now. I had a parent last year whose child did not get an A on an assignment, who called me and wanted the teacher fired because their child typically gets straight A's and didn't get an A on this assignment,
On one assignment.
on one assignment.
Not a quarter grade, not a
No.
semester grade,
It
just
was
one
One
assignment.
assignment. The idea that as a parent, I know more about education because I went to school than my child's teacher does or my child's principal does. So it's an interesting time going back with teaching. And I know we went way around on that one.
No, I think it's okay because I think one of the things that we're seeing is just like, unfortunately, a lot of the communication in the field of education right now is negative.
Yeah.
If you look at Eyes on Education and where parents can basically put anything on there, and I know many districts that are saying that the things that are put on there are biased and they're not
They are.
fact checked.
I'm going to go the opposite. We had education, being a teacher is just a fantastic career.
Mhm.
We've got just amazing teachers who love kids, who pour their heart into them every day.
Yeah.
And we have a ton of positive things, and it's the same in every school district.
What I'm hearing you say is that the individuals who go into teaching, they go in for intrinsically
Yes.
driven purposes, not extrinsically driven purposes.
And that's-
Unfortunately, it can't be both.
And we know our highest quality teachers are emotional people. And they do it for the love of the kids and they want to make life better for those kids. And you're right. It's, the intrinsic versus extrinsic. Sometimes those don't match up. And then we'll go back to finances. And we've lost teachers who just financially could not make it. And they really wanted to teach, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't financially make ends meet. So they left teaching.
You're currently working with teachers who want to become principals.
Yeah.
What recommendations or tips would you give them if they want to become a principal? Like, how do you get your first job?
Well, I'll back up before the first job is what grade level do you want to be an administrator at, and talk to those individuals. And I always say, like, for Clay Community Schools, I know my demons. I also know the great people there. I know exactly where the traps are, where they're not. And this is one of the things I tell the upcoming principals.
Right.
Every district has their set of great things. Every district has their set of traps. And so know what you're doing there. Also, it's hard work. There's, for me as a superintendent, it literally is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm on call constantly. My wife would say the phone would ring at whatever hour, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and she'd say, don't answer it. Your building's not on fire. Well, last year we had a building on fire at 4 in the morning.
You really did.
We really did. And so, for me, every call, my blood pressure spikes because I know it could be something.
Well, you mentioned that you have a lot of amazing teachers in Clay County. You also have some amazing programs going on. I know you're very proud of some of the work that's been coming out of Clay County. You want to share a little bit?
I'm going to plug you guys. With EES Innovation, you actually care about our kids. I'll go into our STEM program, elementary STEM. Our kids are loving it. Our principals are loving it. As you know, people watching this probably aren't aware, we're a very low SES community. And so
Poverty.
very high poverty community, and it makes a difference.
It does.
Your individuals have to understand poverty, have to be able to work within those parameters, and we do a great job of that. We have 2 National Blue Ribbon elementary schools, and that's Jackson Township and Staunton Elementary. Just great programs, great people.
I also throw out a shout out to, because I worked many years with them, Meridian Elementary is one that I worked with a long time. And I mean, their poverty level's way up here, and yet they still consistently perform. You have phenomenal teachers that care about kids, that are in there every single day and are willing to put in that extra work.
Yeah, last year, I think Lisa Froderman, our principal at Eastside, was talking about, and she did a comparison based upon poverty level, and they rocked it. I mean, they were one of the highest performing elementary schools in the state. So we do have really good people who care about the kids.
Well, and I'm a stats guy, so I run stats all the time, and I enjoy doing that. And if you look at the relationship between a building's free and reduced lunch and their pass rate on iLearn, it is the highest correlated factor.
Oh, yeah.
So if your poverty rate goes up, your test scores go down. It's an inverse relationship, and it's the highest predictor on any regression analysis I ever run. I can start with that. So people could say, well, yeah, but you can overcome poverty. You can, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. And that's going back. You have to have the people willing to put into work to help those kids overcome that. The one thing that I really like, in tying this in, your team sticks with us.
Yeah.
And I know I could call you anytime and say, this is what we're trying to figure out. We really need some help, some ideas. And somebody from your team usually calls and says, hey, Micah said that this is going on. Here are some suggestions I have.
Yeah.
Or here's some suggestions we have. When we partnered with you last year on the learning prioritization plan, one of the things we did was marketing the video.
We did a Why I Teach campaign for you where we had 3 promos. Yeah.
And the first day I sent that out, made that live, we ended up with 2 families calling saying, hey, we're coming to Clay Community Schools. And they did. They enrolled their kids.
Awesome. That's great.
That's just a short example of, based upon that positive promotion. And so, for me, what I found is when you're looking at marketing in schools, what we know now with the research is that people don't read. You get basically 30 seconds. If I push things out via email, school messenger, and I still do that when I need to have something, a document pushed out, but I push it out in video, they'll watch YouTube. They'll watch short snippets more than they'll read.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing the same thing with a number of districts that we work with. I've got a team that does a lot of branding and works with districts. And more so than not, it's about showing what you're doing so they can let everyone know what they're focused on so that they can get other people that want to be part of that focus. And so we're seeing a lot of that in a number of the districts we work with. So it's very exciting kind of news.
And I think not only as a district level superintendent, but it's something that our principals need to jump on this, just to highlight their schools. For example, Forest Park Elementary does at the end of the year, they do a mini 500, Indianapolis 500, but it's the Forest Park 500. And they have the bricks across and they do an award ceremony, and it's neat stuff. And I say that because local news came out and did a piece, and from that, sponsorships come in, and people wanting to be a part of this, and I think if every principal jumps on and highlights what they're doing, you have better opportunity to get those community members involved with the whole piece of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Another thing that's not tied to EES, uh, we initiated this therapy dog program.
Oh, tell me.
We're up to 4 therapy dogs now. We started at Van Buren
Okay.
with the therapy dog. They are golden doodles.
Okay.
Van Buren's is a full-size golden doodle. Her name is Journey. Fantastic dog, but our other ones are all mini golden doodles. And these are all grant funded. And so, and I'll use Van Buren as the example. A student with autism may be having a meltdown. That dog, within probably 30 seconds, changes the whole dynamic. Our employees, our students, any time the dog is in their presence, it changes. It just changes. The stress level basically disappears. And so,
That's great. Where do these dogs go at nighttime?
so what we do, we have a contract with the teacher
Uh-huh.
or a guidance counselor, and they are the dog's caretaker.
Okay.
So the dog belongs to Clay Community Schools,
Uh-huh.
but the caretaker is 100% in charge of the dog. So school's out, dog's with the caretaker.
Okay.
We have backup caretakers too, just in case there are abuse. So
Vacations, things like
yeah,
that.
along that line. But we as a school, we pay for all the vet care, we pay for all the food, all the incidentals, and it's worth the money,
Yeah,
every cent of it.
I could see that.
Yep.
How's your community kind of
All on board
parents?
with this.
Really?
As you know, mental health is a huge concern in every school now.
Yeah.
There aren't mental health counselors available because they're in such demand across society, not just in schools. And so trying to find mental health counselors is very hard to do. So going back with these therapy dogs, the community loves it.
Yeah.
Parents love it. They're hypoallergenic, so those who have allergies, that's where the golden doodle is not.
Awesome. That's a really cool program. Not a lot of school districts have those.
I would think it will probably be booming because go back with the therapy dog. There's no way they can take the place of a therapist.
Correct.
But if there's no therapist, our therapy dogs, if we talk finances, we're probably, after you have the initial cost of purchasing the dog and the training, probably running $2,000 to $3,000 a year for the dog,
Wow.
which is, as you know, when you're running a school, that's not much.
Right.
It's worth the money,
Yeah,
every cent of it.
I could see that.
Yep.
Let's transition into, I know you were a high school principal before you went to central office, and I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on high school redesign.
So with the high school redesign, there are pieces that I really, really like, and there are pieces that concern me.
Okay.
I love that every kid is going to be thought of as an individual, and you can choose your path, and you can make it work. And I'm thinking of students, like we're talking about educators. We had some really sharp kids in our program, our cadet teaching program.
Yeah.
Once we get this all ironed out, they could have been interning, their junior and senior years, and could have had, a foot in the door before they even graduated. And so I really like that piece. As a rural school, my concern is, where are kids going to go in terms of trying to get that work-based piece in there? And what I'm really concerned with is kids really wanting to be something, and there's no room for them where they want to go. We have connections with hospitals, vets, manufacturing. It works out. But when we're talking about, for us, when you're talking 400 seniors in our 2 schools and another 400 juniors, where are we going to place them?
Yeah.
And how's that going to work? One of the pieces that I'm concerned about too is that, we took away the time it takes to earn a credit. So it's not seat time. And so you can take under this new diploma, if it passes through here, I could be teaching a class and actually it could count as 3 different classes. And just for me as superintendent, it's when we have say a kid that's really sharp that can hit, instead of having 7 classes in a semester, that could end up being 21, 22
Wow.
credits if they all, falling into that. In terms of what concerns me is we base our schedules on student enrollment per class. So I'm looking at the high school level. So student enrollment per class, if our juniors and seniors, if 50% of them are going to be off campus, what am I going to do with those teachers who now have it? And every kid who's still there isn't off campus. Those students still need those courses. And
Right.
so we could have a teacher who, we have 3 kids that need this course instead of 23 kids who need this course.
Right.
And so what are we going to do? That's where, in terms of what I'm struggling with, is how we're going to meet the needs of both sets of students. I really like it, but I have had those concerns of how to make it work in a rural community.
What I'm hearing you say is basically you like the value that it might provide the individual students in these internships, work-based learning programs, things like that. You like the flexibility it might provide, right?
Yep.
But the logistics or
Yeah,
the minutia of getting it to all coordinate, you're going to have a lot of moving parts, and it's going to take some time. So anytime you introduce a change at that magnitude, you have to go slow. You have to learn to crawl before you walk, before you run,
And you've been in this business long enough to know that we get these changes and we just get it worked out over a period of time. And then you pull the rug out and, okay, we're going to do something different. And that concerns me, the amount of time and effort we're going to put in. Not that it's not a good thing, because it is a good thing. But we get it all worked out, and lo and behold, we have another initiative coming saying, hey, we're going to change it again. And so, but that has happened, I would say, ever since I became principal at Northview. That's been happening ongoing, is we get something worked out, we get it in, we get a change taking place, and boom, we're going to do a different route now.
And it should be noted, it's not like the kids at Northview or your other high school, right? Your 2 high schools aren't getting excellent CTE opportunities.
Correct. Yep.
Briefly share a little bit with me, because we're saying this high school redesign is going to do this and this and this and this, but you're already doing a lot of amazing things that in your CTE and your work-based learning program.
We've got these internships that we've had for years.
Yeah.
We have 50 plus companies, local businesses, manufacturers, you name it, that have been working with us and placing our kids for forever.
Right.
So it's no change there. The difference is, the concern I have is a kid going out, and now is that employer is able to give credits if it's worked out.
Right.
And for me, it's who's making sure those kids are learning what they're supposed to be learning. And I don't want to say, for example, that a student is coming here,
Right.
is interning with you,
Okay.
but you have them, what you have them doing is they're cleaning your rooms.
Yeah.
They're filing tapes for you, something that you would never really have them do.
Right.
But we have some businesses that would take advantage of, okay, I just want you to clean the floors.
It's free labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a concern for me, is that, okay, who's checking that box, being accountable for checking that box and making sure it's accurate.
And in theory, the concept of giving them internships, allowing them to develop skills and all that's great, but we have to make sure that there's safeguards in play to ensure that the value that's being promised to these kids is being delivered to the kids.
That's one of my concerns also.
That's a fair statement.
And I love the opportunities for the kids. And we have some really good businesses that I have no doubt are going to be, right on top of that. But I also know we have some businesses that would take advantage of that opportunity to have free labor.
So, I always conclude every episode with, what professionally are you looking forward to the most in the next 12 months? So,
12 months, it is. What I'm looking most forward to is going back to our partnership in this artificial intelligence with our principals, and the ability that they're actually going to be able to help our teachers through this program. It's one of the things I'm really looking forward to, helping them be able to help their teachers. The other thing is marketing,
yeah.
and getting out there and really expanding upon that and selling all the good things that Clay Community Schools has to offer.
Yeah, I think you guys do so many great things and you continue to market yourself and show. It's not really marketing, it's more so stakeholder engagement
Yep.
because you're really working hard to engage your stakeholders because you see the value of
Yep.
potential partnerships with, having 50 some businesses is
Yep.
huge that
We
you partner with.
we have a great community.
Yeah.
And our Chamber of Commerce is amazing. It's nice just to be able to partner with them and to find where they can help us and where we can help them.
That's awesome.
And those things are always good. So I'm looking forward to increasing that.
That's great. Thanks for your time today, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.